Were there any surprising moments for you?
Yes, that Pope Leo was elected. It is really a mystery of God's hand at work. Some people are curious as to exactly how the election of the Pope takes place. And perhaps I think could have been propelled by the movie, the Conclave, you know.
Your Eminence, you are the first Singaporean cardinal to be part of the conclave to elect a new pope. Can you tell us about your experience?
It was a beautiful experience, but I think it was a moment in which I felt that for us cardinals, the whole weight of the world was upon our shoulders to elect the pope that is the best for humanity and for the church. And so it was a great responsibility. So the most important part of the whole election of the Pope was actually the 9 days of meeting. That's the most important part. And also the interaction, informal interaction, sharing between the cardinals, among the cardinals, whether during breaks or at night during informal dinners, where we get to know each other, where we get to hear each other's views and the challenges. The most solemn part would be the conclave itself. That one is done with a very sacred atmosphere. So it's not just an election, it was a sacred moment.
Were there any surprising moments for you?
Surprising moments. Yes, that Pope Leo was elected. He was not one of the well-known figures, or we call it a candidate for the papacy. I think not many people know him, neither the cardinals from the rest of the world, especially from Asia and Africa. So it was a surprising choice that he was elected.
The conclave is regarded as something that is monumental, sacred, and involves a unique voting process. Why do you think it has intrigued so many people in the world?
I suppose there is also this secrecy involved in the voting. The voting of a pope is unlike that of the world. It is not exactly a parliamentary approach to the election of a pope. Nobody will come up front and say, please choose me as the pope, or that I'm the best person, to lead the church. Nobody champions himself to be the pope. And I think most cardinals would not want to be pope because it is a heavy responsibility. It is really a martyrdom itself. It is really an act of faith. But because during the conclave itself, before we vote for the Pope, and every time when we put in vote, we have to swear before God that the person that we choose, that I choose or the other person choose, is really the person I think is the best person to be the successor of St. Peter. It is really a mystery of God's hand at work. And perhaps I think could have been propelled by the movie, the Conclave, And so some people are curious as to exactly how the election of the Pope takes place.
Do you mind me asking if you watched the movie?
Yes, I watched with my staff. The Conclave that we watched in the movie is very sensational. There's certain aspects of it are true, like we are not allowed to bring any digital device, no recording, and it's very strict, very, very strict. But all the other parts, I think they are over exaggerated. Cardinals are not what was being portrayed in the conclave, as if we are trying to manipulate the situation, trying to lobby one group against the other group, having conferences at night, secret meetings. Those things are not true at all. But what is true, of course, is that the moment when the conclave starts, we are very busy. We have the formal meetings, which we call the general congregations, where all the cardinals will meet in the aula, we call it the hall actually. And so it's important also to hear the cardinals speaking and sharing their challenges. Because in the midst of this general congregation, the Pope is present. We do not know which one. But I feel that the whole conclave movie, what they lack is a spiritual dimension. They forgot to mention the importance of prayer, importance of the individual cardinals praying. I think that part is lacking. So it becomes a very political kind of movie.
So in summary, take the movie with a pinch of salt.
Oh yes, yes. Of course that is dramatized, or else how do they make money?
So when deciding who to vote for, what were some things that you prayed for?
Well, the Pope that I felt is necessary for the world today is a Pope that brings unity. Pope Leo has always been very clear about the teaching of the Church. Since he has taken office, I think he is clear about where the Church stands with respect to certain moral issues. So I think that is needed. And of course, Pope Leo must continue the work of Pope Francis, definitely.
What was the moment like when then Cardinal Prevost got the required number of votes to become Pope?
We all breathed a sigh of relief. But anyway, it was not totally unexpected, because as the vote progressed, we know how a candidate is garnering more votes. So more or less after two rounds, you know who are those people who are in the forefront. And then we will know eventually you will cross the two-thirds majority.
Did you get to speak to Pope Leo when he got elected, congratulate him?
Of course, while you were all waiting, once we have already certified that he has reached that majority votes, two-thirds majority, during that time we have a ceremony, a liturgical rite to accept him as the Holy Father and also to pray for him. And then all of us will take turns to show our respect for him and also to congratulate him.
Your Eminence, were there any funny moments?
Oh yes, because when Pope Leo was elected and he was meeting us the next day, we asked the Holy Father that he will have a consistory, a meeting of all the cardinals at least once a year for a few days, so that we can know each other better. And so when time comes to elect the next Pope, we will be able to know who would be the best candidate for the next Pope. And Pope Leo says, "Oh, I see, you are already preparing for the next conclave."
And with the late Pope Francis establishing that this is the Jubilee Year of Hope, what are some of your hopes for the Church and her people?
My hope for Pope Leo is the same as for the Church, because of the Pope Leo represents the Church, and so this Pope is concerned with building peace and with his Augustinian spirituality, which is also the emphasis on unity. And it would be great that this Pope Leo will truly be a bridge builder, not just for Catholics alone, but for the whole of humanity.